gosh, what an absolutely
That's
massive
why we
play to
all
start the
love
game.
it.
Is he going to get the
Rid of
one
the
shot? He gets the one-hit KO!
Hey there everybody, my name is Alex, and I happen to play a little bit of competitive Pokemon. That being said, Pokemon team building is by far my most requested video by all of you, so I figured I couldn't leave you hanging forever, and finally got my shit together. That being said, team building is really difficult. I didn't make this video for a long time because honestly, it's not an easy topic to define or even explain sometimes. There are so many different ways to team build, as evidenced by the fact that the way I'm about to explain to you guys in this video right now differs from the way I told all of you in my last team building guide. I have in no way perfected team building, but in my defense, almost all the teams that I've used to place in tournaments, I have built myself personally. There are a lot of great players out there that perform really well in tournaments and such, but mainly use other people's teams, which is cool too. I just wanted to let you know, this is my personal advice, my personal way of team building. There are people out there that are way better at this than I am, but do note that my method has worked before. I did win the 2014 US Nationals with a team I built myself from scratch, so at least it's not all completely BS. Maybe just half of it. But without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to my teams box. This is one of the boxes I keep in my game that contains teams I've used to place well at tournaments. Please pardon that third row. I honestly don't remember what was on that team. There was an HP Fire Moonlight Cresselia on there somewhere, but the rest of it's been lost to time. Anyway, take a quick look here. The order I've set these Pokemon in is actually relatively important. We'll be coming back to this page in a bit. I just wanted to introduce it to you slowly. Now, let me reiterate. When building teams, this is just the way that I see things. But when I'm building a team, I consider there to be three distinct styles of teams. There's an offensive or combo style, a reactionary style, and finally a defensive or stall style. Now, these may operate as a portion of a team themselves, or as a full team build. Once again, just bear with me. The offensive or combo style. These are versatile Pokemon that can function by carrying a team through power and offensive pressure. They'll usually be fast, strong, or both, and can be used to punch through teams. Choice Scarf Surf Politoed and Absorb Ball Ludicolo are a good example of a strong combo that can punch through a lot of teams and be led against a variety of Pokemon to at least decent effect. Some pros of using this strategy is that they're typically less mentally straining over the course of a tournament, as well as the fact that using the same combos over and over again makes them easier to get comfortable with against a variety of opponents' lead choices. A con? Well, if your go-to combo gets hard countered, GG. The reactionary style. This style of team focuses on using a variety of Pokemon that can handle any situation. The player picks a bunch of Pokemon that have good synergy with each other, and base their play from observing the opponent's Pokemon choices in Team Preview. There is a strong emphasis here on correctly calling the metagame choices, and on Team Preview play. Pros to this style? It's a very flexible style of team composition, which can readily handle a ton of different situations, usually to great effect. This is pretty much able to put up a fight against most situations, and for that reason, having at least a portion of a reactionary build on your team provides a huge help, especially in a best of 3 scenario. The final of the three styles, a defensive or stall type, emphasizes on strong defensive stats, switches, cores, and or setup moves to either win slowly or just help get into a better position. As far as a full team archetype goes, a stall team hasn't really seen that much success in VGC since 2010. This is due to Team Preview's introduction, so your opponent knows what to watch out for, like Minimize or something, and can lead something like Taunt against you, in addition to the timer that's been introduced to VGC. In formats with more lax time constraints, it actually has some potential, but in official tournaments, they're relatively easy to stall out and quite mentally consuming after many consecutive rounds of battles going through the full timer. However, having a defensive Pokemon or two to use as a switching hinge is definitely still quite effective. For example, Adib Alam's Goodra from his second place 2014 US Nationals finish is a great example of this. That being said, I'm going to leave you with a quote from my friend Ryuzaki. Never go full Jesus. That's all. Oh hey, remember this page? I told you we'd be back. Check out the color coding at the top. I've been using the same colors for a reason. Like I said, these are all teams I've used in tournaments to some degree of success, and most of them I built myself. A couple of exceptions. The second team was morphed from a team Ray Rizzo used to win Virginia Regionals in fall of 2014. Rotom, Salamence, and Mawile were from his team. Also, the team on the bottom was given to me by my friend Metaboo back in 2010, in line for the LCQ. As I proceed through this clip, I'm going to outline what portion of each of my team fell into each of the three categories I just talked about in my mind as I built it. First up, we have the powerful combo that is Scarf Politoed and Assault Vest Ludicolo. They're a strong combination that can deal a great amount of damage between their speed and stab rain boosted water moves. Another popular combination in 2014 was Mega Kangaskhan and Talonflame. Now don't get me wrong, I could lead any two Pokemon on this team together, but these two combinations were especially effective in the meta at the time, and had a pretty decent matchup against a good number of teams. These are my go-to leads on this team. Now, if you watched my video covering my Nationals team, you might remember that the back four of this team were used to cover the weaknesses I found in my Politoed Ludicolo lead. Usually, popular combos, such as Politoed Ludicolo, are well known and recognized by many players, so having a way to trump the ways other players will try to handle a common lead combination of yours is a must. I won't go into too much detail here right now, but a trend I usually find myself following while team building is I first find a combination of Pokemon I think are strong, Politoed Ludicolo in this case, and then I use the back of the team to fill in the gaps. In fact, the only exception to that rule on this whole page is the second team. I took this team to second place at Oregon's Regionals in 2014, only losing once in Swiss thanks to a Hydro Pump miss. I bet that's no surprise to anybody who's watched my battle videos before. And in the finals to my friend Alex Tempe. This whole team functioned in a reactionary way where I'd have to invent a game plan each battle according to my opponent's team in Team Preview. Choice Scarf Tyranitar is there for the ever popular Garchomp in that format. Sap Sipper Goodra was to help against Amoonguss, and Lumberry Scissor was needed in order to stop any potential fairies. Cough cough Scarf Gardevoir, as well as Bug Bite off citrus berries from Will-O-Wisping Rotom Washes. Choice Scarf Chandelure and Hitmontop were my go-to lead at San Jose's Regional in 2013, in which the Genies and Latios were very popular. Hitmontop could fake out the ally, and Chandelure could OHKO a variety of mons by either using Shadow Ball or Overheat. Choice Scarf Salamence and Bisharp acted like a poor man's Aerodactyl Bisharp lead, the assurance strategy that Sejun ever made so popular, except with Intimidate in the front. I even ran a physical rock sliding Salamence set because its coverage next to Bisharp was pretty great. You'll notice the back of this team was built around responding to potential threats to this lead. However, Mega Kangaskhan and Amoonguss are also a popular pairing that can really punch through teams if needed. Finally, you'll see a team from the ancient 2010 metagame. My lead here was a Choice Scarf, surprise surprise, Giratina, next to a Focus Sash Fake Out Infernape. The Giratina would Shadow Force, and the Infernape would Protect or Fake Out turn 1. Then on turn 2, when Giratina would land and Break Protect, I'd close combat the same spot. The combination of the powerful Stab Ghost attack alongside the Stab Close Combat KO'd pretty much any Pokemon, and trying to switch a normal type into the Shadow Force would only prove to end in a loss of a Pokemon as well. One last thing I want to note here, on all of the teams here, I have at least one defensive Pokemon that I can use to function as a switching tool. I had a Cress on the third team, despite not being pictured. Their bulk and or typing proved to be essential in many instances, giving me a chance to switch out my Pokemon on the field, especially considering that I ran at least one choice item on every single one of these teams. Just some food for thought. So a lot of this might be a little bit overwhelming for you, and it might be a little over your head, since coming from my mind it makes sense, but coming from an outside it might be a little confusing. So here's my Nationals team again. I'm going to show you guys how this team was built in a very brief manner, since I have a very much more in-depth video elsewhere on my channel already. The very first thing I did was I sat down and examined what Pokemon were some of the biggest threats in the metagame. Garchomp, Charizard Y, Mega Kangaskhan, and Mega Tyranitar all came to mind. I tried to figure out a nice combination of Pokemon that could handle these Pokemon effectively. Well, since two of them are weather, one is quad weak to ice type moves, and Kangaskhan is vulnerable to being burned, hello Scald, I settled on Politoed and Ludicolo. I played around with these two and filled the rest of the team in with just complete filler Pokemon, leading with this Rain duo every single time I played on Showdown, despite what the opponent's team looked like. I took notes on as far as what was giving this lead problems. Obviously, there are a lot more than just these three, but Smeargle, Gyarados, and Mega Venusaur were giving me an especially hard time. So I wanted something that could get around the Focus Sash Smeargle usually carried, and could chunk Gyarados and Mega Venusaur. I hadn't chosen a Mega yet, so I thought I'd try out Kangaskhan. I tossed Mega Kangaskhan on the back in the place of one of the filler Pokemon, and kept testing from there. I soon realized some more issues with the team. On the top of my list was Talonflame and Ferrothorn, especially the latter since nobody could run low kick on Kangaskhan in 2014, and I was still having some problems against Venusaur. I needed to beat grass types in the rain, so I tossed about some potential solutions, and I came to this. If you can't beat them, join them. Boom, my own Talonflame. It could one-shot Venusaur, and depending on the spread, even Talonflame and Ferrothorn in the rain if I gave it a choice band. So now I had 4 Pokemon. I removed the back 2 filler mons and just tested these 4, switching leads as I saw fit, just getting a good general sense for the team. Notice how I took a strong combo that I liked, Ludicolo and Politoed, and filled in 2 reactionary mons to deal with issues the combo was having. I can use my go-to lead of Politoed Ludicolo if I thought it had a decent matchup, and I knew its matchups pretty well because I was solo testing that lead for a long time, but I could also switch up what I wanted to bring as leads and backs according to the experience I had with the lead either winning or losing. Testing these 4, and only these 4, I ran into some more problems. Ferrothorn wasn't a great matchup. In fact, Steels in general gave me problems. Mega Kangaskhan was still a threat, and Trick Room was scary to deal with since everything on my team was fast. I knew a single Pokemon wouldn't be able to round out the team as a whole, so I concentrated on thinking of a pair that could deal with these issues. I was also still short a nice defensive Mon, especially considering I didn't have Protect on a single Pokemon on the whole team. So what did I settle on? Choice Specs Hydreigon. Rotom Wash, Garchomp, and even Kangaskhan sometimes can be brought down in a single shot from Choice Specs Draco Meteor, and Hydreigon can be built to survive at least one attack from them first, barring the strange Life Orb on Garchomp. Aegislash and many Trick Room setters can be dropped using Specs Dark Pulses, and a good Flamethrower on Ferrothorn would do a lot even in the rain, putting it into KO range of anything else on my team for sure. Heck, a strong Earth Power can one-shot Mawile, granted it wasn't too specially defensive. So I threw it on the team. Now I took a step back and looked at the 5-Mon team as a whole. I tested it some more and just jotted down a few notes on what was really giving me problems. I realized I had very little switching potential, and going into Trick Room was a pain in the neck. Fighting types could hit pretty much anything they wanted to on my team, minus Talonflame, but who wants to switch into Talonflame anyway? Also, incoming spores were pretty deadly. Sash Aerodactyl kinda sucked too. I knew that Aegislash had perfect synergy switching with Hydreigon, plus it could avoid any damage Kangaskhan could dish out. It could set up a sub on an incoming spore, and could easily deal with fairies, Aerodactyl, and fighting types. Seemed like a good fit, so I slapped it on. Bam, there you have it, the team I used to win US Nationals. Each piece was specifically used for the issues at hand. I started with a combo I believed to be pretty strong, and then I followed suit with Pokemon that could deal with the Pokemon that were giving me problems. Most of the teams I build personally end up following this sort of pattern. Pick a duo first, then fill in with supporting roles. The one exception to this pattern in the teams that I showed you in my box is the second place Oregon team, and that's because I didn't really start with a strong offensive combo that I liked. Instead, I picked some Pokemon that could deal with common threats as a core first, Rotom, Salamence, and Mawile, which is what Ray used earlier that season, and then filled in the rest. Don't get me wrong, I had a lead I used on the team more than any other, Rotom Wash and Salamence, so I could intimidate and Will-O-Wisp accordingly, but those two definitely didn't function the same way, say, Rock Slide Scarf Salamence followed by Assurance Bisharp does, essentially nuking a target from the start. Whew, we got through that demo somehow. I hope you paid attention to that process because I find it very, very useful, personally. My Nationals team took me about 2 months to put together, from picking my combo to finishing their specific EV spreads. And now I won't go through that again or else this 3,000 word video might become a 4,000 word video. But but let's take a look at one more thing before you go. If you watch my Fight for First series, you might recognize this team as the one I used to end last season in 10th place in North America, peaking at 3rd for a bit. So we did pretty alright with this team. What you're looking at right now is the final composition we settled on throughout the season. Let me just take 1 second to show you the transformation this team went through in order to get to where it was. We used this team, if I do recall correctly, from episode 66 of Fight for First to episode 92, which would be 26 battles. Now I did use this team a few times off camera, so let's assume about 30 games total on BattleSpot were played with this team. Within these 30 games, we went from a 1550, our score when we started using the team listed at the top, all the way to 3rd with a score of 1937, and then back down to 1908. The purple circle identifies each change the team went through. I put on a random 6 Pokemon I thought had some potential, and then edited it as we won and lost games. We made 4 Pokemon switches through these 30 games. That's 1 change per 7.5 battles. I wanted to show you this for 2 reasons. First, it's okay to start with 6 Pokemon you feel might be good together, and then edit it from there, as opposed to starting with a combo and fixing issue from those 2. There was no hardcore combo on this team. I liked Intimidate Landorus, I liked Tailwind and Follow Me next to Kangaskhan, I liked having a way to one-shot opposing Kangaskhan, and I liked having a way to stop Dark Void. That being said, I come to my second point. Don't be afraid to change the Pokemon on your team to fit different roles. Scissor was cool, but I had so many physical Pokemon I wanted a way to deter Intimidate. Meowstic was swag, but bulky water Pokemon were giving the team trouble. Identify the role each Pokemon on your team is playing, and if you need to make a switch, make sure you're not giving up too much on their successful utility in that slot while still aiding and fixing what you're having troubles with. One last thing I like to do with my teams is to make sure they can handle a variety of common pitfalls found in VGC. Speed has always been an important part of the game, and having ways to control or manipulate that are pretty vital to success. Make sure you can deal with Trick Room, Tailwind, and the such. Another thing you need to make sure your team has a way of dealing with are weather teams. If the opponent is freely allowed to keep their weather up, it will boost many aspects of their team, be it in just more powerful stab moves, speed increases, or a number of other things. Make sure you have a way to stop these common archetypes. Redirection next to a Pokemon that can set up can quickly turn a losing battle into a winning one. In fact, I utilize this strategy myself a lot. Make sure you can stop that Amoonguss from rage powdering while your opponent's Kangaskhan goes crazy over your team with Power Up Punch. Status moves, in general, should be carefully planned around. Do you have a way to keep Smeargle from Dark Voiding everything? Do you have something that is willing to take a Will-O-Wisp? Etc. Also make sure you have some sort of decent mix of special and physical attackers, since leaning too heavily in one direction can put you in a bad scenario against certain teams or Pokemon. And finally, just think about what you could potentially be facing against in a tournament, and make sure you have at least something that can deal with any of these potential scenarios. Do I have at least one fire move to deal with Ferrothorn? Is my whole team going to get outsped and one-shotted by Garchomp's Earthquake? And so on. Your team will be a lot more solid if you've got your game plans figured out ahead of time. Also, as a final note, if you keep finding yourself losing, it may very well not be the team that's not working out. It might just be the way you're playing the team, or the way you approach each game. My friend Stefan Morioka once told me something that I've kind of taken to heart. There are no bad teams, just bad players. Well, that's it. I hoped you guys liked the video, and I hoped it was helpful. At the very least, in the sense that you got to see a different way to team build in Pokemon. If it was helpful to you, please, please, please let me know. The script for this video was over 12 pages long, double-spaced. I spent a lot of time on these, so if it was actually helpful, please tell me so. Leave me a comment, or like the video so others can see that it's actually somewhat useful. Heck, if you have some friends who play VGC, sharing goes a long way to the creator of any video as well. The fact that you keep coming back to my channel and putting up with my shitty content allows me to make more of it. I know those ads in the front are really annoying, but they literally allow me to eat. And if I can eat, I can keep making content for all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support. I hope to be helpful, or to entertain you all at least, again in the future. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching, and good luck team building, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to leave a like or even a comment. Both of those are pretty amazing. And if you really liked what you saw and you think you could put up with me again, maybe even hit that subscribe button. Either way, thanks so much for watching, and see you guys next time on Pokemon Feet.